can take effect of all of your organs. So at that point, my kidneys were shutting down. Like they thought I was gonna have to be on dialysis. Um, there was all types of tubes hooked up to me. My heart was starting to fail. Like my lungs weren't working very well, and I was bleeding from like everywhere.
Welcome to PS Live, where we talk about motherhood, fatherhood, and all that other good shit. I am your host, Jessica Shari. This is my little co-host, Naima. Today we have Miss Bree, beautiful mom. How you doing, girl?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So why don't you start off by telling people a little bit about yourself? How many kids you got? What's going on?
So my name is Bree or Brianna, whatever you want to call me. I am a mom of a 15-month-old little boy. His name is Miles, and I have an angel baby who would be 9. His name is Jeremiah.
Angel baby. I can't believe he's 15 months already. Wow. Time is going by fast.
For sure.
For sure. Did you always want kids?
I did. I was definitely one of those people that like planned everything out. Like, when I have 3 kids, and I had the names planned out and everything. So it was definitely something I always wanted to do, for sure.
Why don't you start by telling me a little bit about how you found out you were pregnant with Jeremiah?
So I was a freshman at Saginaw Valley at the time. So I was 18, and my period was like one day late, just one day, but I knew something was off. So I was like, And I had my friends take me to the Walmart to get a pregnancy test. I don't know, it might have been a box of 3 or something like that, however they come. But so we went, and I took the test. I was by myself when I took it, and it was 2 little lines, but one of them was really faint. So I was like, I don't know what this means. Let me go figure it out. So I'm running through the hallway with this pregnancy test, looking crazy. Running through the hallway trying to find my friends, like, what does this mean? And they were like, I don't know. You need to take another one. So took another one. It was definitely positive. The freak out didn't happen right away. I was more so in shock. So I was like, what the heck? And then my friend took one just to make sure that the tests weren't faulty, and they were not. And so, yeah, then the freak out happened after I told my boyfriend at the time. So it was scary.
Definitely those babies that aren't playing that just pop up, like, wait. And tell me a little bit about that pregnancy. How did it go? Were you really sick? Did you just kind of coast through it a little bit?
It was perfectly smooth. Like, I know I heard stories about how you have all this morning sickness, but none of that happened. So I was blessed, to say the least, throughout the pregnancy up until the end. So yeah, no morning sickness, no Braxton Hicks, none of that. It just didn't end well. So
right. And can we talk a little bit about that? I don't want to be too,
Oh, that's okay. That's what I'm here for. So I had preeclampsia, which is high blood pressure in pregnancy, and I didn't know that. The day it happened, we were at a concert. It was a concert at some church, the day was normal. You know what I'm saying? I ate before we left. We were all having a good time. And then I started to feel just funny. Like I started to feel nauseous and I hadn't felt nauseous the entire time. And so I went to the bathroom and I'm like, okay, like what's going on? And then at one point I started to feel short of breath and there was like pressure in my upper abdomen. So I'm like, this is not right. And then I vomited and I hadn't vomited the entire pregnancy. And after that, like everything gets a little blurry for me. But I do remember uh, my dad was there, my brother was there, my aunt was there, and my dad, got me in the car and we were speeding down the freeway. And I remember my head was like hanging out the window and I'm gasping for air because I couldn't breathe. Um, and it was really like in and out from here on out because I don't really remember much. But we ended up meeting the ambulance in a mall parking lot. And they transferred me in the ambulance to Beaumont Royal Oak. And I remember getting in the emergency room and I just obviously kept asking, like, is my baby okay? Is my baby okay? And they were looking. I was 34 weeks, so I was almost there. Mind you, this happened 1 week exactly before my baby shower was supposed to be. So, yeah. And so I just kept asking, like, is my baby okay? And they were quiet for a minute. And I don't remember exactly what they said to me because a blur after that. But, obviously he wasn't okay. And then I was in ICU for a week, and then I moved up to a second level ICU. But the day everything happened, they induced my labor so that I could have him because I guess I think the cord was wrapped around his neck and the placenta had detached, which is where that pressure was coming from. Okay. The details are really foggy, but so they induced my labor and I ended up delivering him. I actually had to push him out on October 30th at 10:05 a.m. And I was by myself when I did that. They wouldn't let anybody come back to the OR. And I remember I pushed him out, and for whatever reason, I thought like he was just gonna be okay. And so I was waiting for them to like lay him on my chest, and they took him right away. And so then after that, they took me back to ICU because I was not doing well. Like, I don't know how much you know about preeclampsia, but it really can take effect of all of your organs. So at that point, my kidneys were shutting down. Like they thought I was going to have to be on dialysis. There was all types of tubes hooked up to me. My heart was starting to fail. Like my lungs weren't working very well, and I was bleeding from like everywhere. So it wasn't looking too good. And my parents ended up telling me towards the end, they were like, they didn't think I was going to make it. So by the grace of God, I'm still here. But yeah, so I did get to hold him, but when that happened, I was on all types of drugs, so it's not something that I remember very clearly. But yeah, it was very traumatic, not just for me physically, but obviously mentally and emotionally, and for the rest of my family because we expected to go home with the baby. So that was an experience that I never thought I would go through, and I had never heard of it happening. It was completely foreign to me. Nobody I knew had ever lost a baby, so it was a very isolating and terrifying experience for me, for sure. Yeah.
I'm so sorry you had to go through that. Okay. Thank you for sharing your story because, like you said, you do feel alone, but unfortunately, there are a lot of women who do, um,
Mm,
unfortunately, lose children. Um, you talk about a bit of the time right after that, like the that kind of dark period of trying to make sense of everything, I guess.
yeah. Um, well, I stayed in the hospital for I think 2 weeks after that, just trying to get my health back in order. Um, right after everything is just like so this was my first loss. Like in general, I had never lost a grandparent, a dog, like so I had a hard time processing it in general because I'm like, I've never been through anything like this before. Um, and my thinking was always, okay, I'm pregnant. I'm gonna have a baby. Like that's typically the outcome that you expect. So it was just very lonely and um it took a long time to kind of come to terms with it. Um and there were a lot of people, people say stuff trying to be nice
Yeah.
and you know, it was a lot. So a few people were like, "Oh, at least he doesn't have to suffer or at least you can try again." Or like it was I know that they were trying to be kind, but at that moment it was just like, wow, like I just lost everything. You just told me that, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So yeah, it was a long process. Um and I probably didn't deal with it in a very healthy way for a long time. Um I don't know how much I can say on this podcast, but lots of drinking was involved, which obviously is not healthy, but I didn't know how to cope. I didn't know who to talk to. You know what I'm saying? I could talk to people, but they didn't know what I was
Right.
going through. So it was just very difficult to deal with. I didn't try counseling until maybe like a year after it happened, and I didn't like my therapist, so I stopped going. So it was tough. Is the long and short of it.
Right. No, that makes sense. Um, when did you think you started to heal from it, or have you? 'Cause I know you'll. I mean, I'm sure you'll never get over it, but healed from it, and
Um, it like I said before, it did take a very, very long time. Like I would be triggered by everything. When
yeah,
it first happened, like my boyfriend at the time, they had a lot of kids in their family. So we would go around and it was kids playing all over the place, which is, but it was very triggering to me. So I would have to leave the room. I would go cry or I would just have to go home. Like I couldn't be around kids at all, and especially not a newborn. I didn't hold a newborn baby until like 3 or 4 years after it happened. Like it was just too
yeah,
triggering to me. Um, so I would like to say that I have healed from it. Um, because I'm in a position to where I can talk to other people about it and not be a ball of tears.
yeah.
But there are still some triggers.
Well,
Um, I don't put myself in certain situations. I don't go to certain places and stuff because I'm like, I don't want to be in my feelings. But healing has definitely taken place. Um, I just avoid things that I know are not going to have a good outcome.
yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that rainbow baby, Miles. How did you find out you were pregnant with him? Were you
Um,
trying, or was
I,
he surprised?
he was a surprise too. I was not trying. Again, I knew very quickly. It was probably like the day Yeah, it probably was just one day I was late, and I was like, "Nah, something ain't right." So I took a test because I just had them on deck. I don't know, but took a test and it was positive. And again, it was just that shock, but I wasn't as emotional as I was the first time.
Right.
Um, but it was I took a pregnancy test like every single week. Actually, I took a pregnancy test every day for the first 2 weeks. And then after that, I would just go by them once a week just to be like, hey, am I still pregnant? Like,
Yeah.
because I was terrified
Yeah.
from the moment I found out I was pregnant to the moment he was in my arms, like,
Absolutely.
terrified. Just because I knew what could happen.
Yeah.
Like, my only experience had been negative, so I was like, oh, this is
And you
scary.
were so far along when it happened.
Yeah, yeah. So I was like freaking out the entire time. And when you're pregnant, people are like, "Oh, you're gonna have a baby," and rubbing on your stomach, and they're excited.
Right.
But I just always had that fear in the back of my mind, like I'm supposed to be excited, and I was, but I wasn't as excited as I would have been had I not had that previous experience. So yeah, it was very frightening for sure. And I had preeclampsia again this time with Miles.
Um,
It happened again towards the end. I was admitted 1 week before he was born for my blood pressure. They watched me for a week, sent me home. Then I came back again because my blood pressure was high again. And they kept me and they decided to induce me because it was too high. It was like 170 over 100 or something crazy like that. So they did decide to induce me, and they thought they were gonna have to do a C-section, and it was kind of taking the same turn, but we acted a lot faster because they knew my history.
yeah.
But yeah, the same thing could have happened. So it makes it scary for like the future. I used to want 3 kids, and I'm like, I think I can maybe do this one more time, and I'm done. Like it's my body don't like it. I guess I don't know. Scary.
Nah, that's understandable. I mean,
Yeah.
that's understandable. Um, what were you remember your first kind of thoughts when you held him?
Um, I thought I was gonna be like super tearful and like emotional, but he came so fast.
Yeah,
I
it's like,
like
what is going on?
he came in 2 pushes and they just plopped him right on me, and I was like, "What? That's it? That's all I had to do?" I was too in shock to be emotional. So, yeah. But I don't really know when it kicked in. Like, oh wow, I actually have a human person that came out of me.
Right,
Probably like when I went home and I was like, oh,
right.
he's coming with me. This is my kid.
Do you still look at him sometimes like, who are you?
All the time, like, you came out of me? Are you
Yeah,
sure?
it's
Yeah,
so weird, right? These little
so weird. But it's amazing. I love it. It's my favorite.
pictures. How is mom life treating you?
It's great. Um, I think I have a different perspective because I just cherish every moment. I'm like, wow, like,
Yeah,
I don't know. I feel like I'm overly excited about stuff, but I'm like, oh, look at him. He's eating food. Like, okay, I don't know. I'm just super excited.
Absolutely.
I try not to be that mom, but
Yeah,
I am. But yeah, no, it's really great. I'm really excited to watch him grow and do all of the cool things he's doing.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, that's awesome. What would you say to the mom who has recently just lost her baby, whether it was just a miscarriage, a stillbirth? Is
Hmm.
there anything you can, you know, some type of wisdom gems you can drop?
Um, I would say that grief is it's a personal experience and it doesn't have to look a certain way. Um, and that your emotions are going to come in waves. Like initially, it's going to be a moment to moment thing, and then it goes to day, and then week to week, and so on and so forth. And me, even 9 years out, like sometimes I still have my days where I'm like, wow, I would have a 9 year old. Like, but I would just say to give yourself the time that you need and know your triggers. And though it can be very lonely, people are going to say the wrong things to you, take it with a grain of salt. Um, and find the people that don't make you feel shame about what you're feeling. Um, Try not to isolate yourself because being around people can be helpful. Find a therapist that you like. It may take a while, but um, just take your time. Like it's gonna take time and deal with it the best way that you know how. That's all I got.
Um, and then what what have you learned about yourself throughout this whole journey of
Mhm.
motherhood?
Um, I've definitely learned my strength for sure, especially with that being the first loss that I had ever dealt with. Um, I feel like going through that when I went through it um, was it made me mature faster than a lot of my peers, I think, because at the time I was 19 when I lost him, and my peers, they're worried about boys and school or whatever else they're worried about. Which no shade to them, but like I was dealing with some really heavy stuff, so I feel like the way that I look at things and the way that I think about things is a lot different than other people. Um, I feel like I cherish life a little bit more, maybe. And I also don't take a lot of stuff too seriously because I'm like, I don't know. Everything is not as serious as you think it is necessarily. I mean, there's always something that's somebody else is going through. So I'm a lot kinder to people for sure because people are dealing with stuff that you don't have any idea about. So it's made me kinder and stronger and wiser for sure.
For sure.
Baby.
She had her
Was
chat.
quiet the whole time.
So her passing out. Um, nah, she had her shots today, her first shot, so she was just like
Oh,
super grumpy. Yeah. 1 second.
that's okay.
Yeah, to the rescue. Um, okay. Let's start. Um, but yeah, and I didn't know. I'm sorry that if this was triggering to me asking you because I wanted to speak with you about it. Um,
Mhm.
I have for a while actually, but I was like, you know what I mean. I don't want to say the wrong thing, or I don't want to trigger you or make you feel some type of way. And I didn't realize that it was coming up. His birthday.
Oh no, that's okay.
Yeah,
Um,
but
no,
no,
I wouldn't have agreed if it was gonna be triggering.
yeah,
I know in advance. I'm like, all right, that's not gonna be right for me. But also, I feel like another thing I would say, at least this is my personal experience. When it first happened, people would be like, they didn't want to talk about it. They didn't want to say his name. Like it was
yeah,
hush hush.
yeah.
And I kind of wanted people to be like, just say his name. Like
Right,
he had a name. He was a person.
right.
So I don't mind um, talking about it, especially not now, because I know there's a lot of people that have gone through this, and I know how lonely it can be and how lonely it can feel. So I have another friend who lost a baby, and I make sure to, say his name and check in on her even now because I feel like that's important. So the people will know, like, somebody else is thinking about you and somebody else is acknowledging that your baby was a human person and that that person meant something to you.
Right.
No, I don't mind.
That's true. That's true. Um, and you know how to do it. I see that shirt you have on.
We go.
Shoot, is that from that scripture? Is my favorite scripture. God is a sinner and she
Yes.
will fall. I love it. I love it. Please,
Psalms 46:5, I want to say.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So I have an Instagram page. My website is done, y'all, but it's really just being a chicken. I'm like, I want everything to be perfect, and honestly, life has been kicking my butt. There's a lot of stuff going on, but yeah. So I have an Instagram page. It's underscore keep going, babe, and it's basically just me trying to motivate women and share a little bit of my stories, because it's a lot more. um, to try to motivate people to keep going through whatever they're going through, so they can reach their goals, so that they can help inspire and motivate other people. And my personal page is also underscore Brianna Dene. But yeah, so I have these shirts. This is just a hoodie that I made myself. I like to wear them when I take my exams for school, but it says she will not fail on it. You guys can keep posted on that. I'm working on some things.
I love it. Yes. So you heard it here first because I'm first in line. I'm trying to see all the goodness, and because you don't realize you go through these things, and like you said, you feel so alone in it, but you don't even understand that God is giving you that grace to get through it, just so you can be able to talk to somebody else about it.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, and with that, I think we're good. Thank you, my love, my dear.
Oh,
You did the best for coming on here. Um,
thank you.
again, you
Great.
guys, please check out at underscore keep going, babe. Um, I'm gonna have links in the descriptions for all of her stuff. Yay. And if you are going through something right now, know that you are not alone. Pray Going Shit is here literally, so no parent feels alone, because that loneliness nobody talks about, but it's real. So I love you guys. Thank you, sis, for coming on here.
Thank you. This is awesome.
You. All right, love you guys. Until next time.